Hello, welcome to whatever episode number this is of the Existential Files. Louie, we were talking before about artificial intelligence, and I think the context has been you are in the process at the time of recording, writing a blog post for your newly resurrected blog, everythingispointless.com, about artificial intelligence. What's your kind of take on, do you think there is such a thing as artificial intelligence? Can computers be intelligent?
Right. I mean, we were talking about coincidences, weren't we, earlier? And I mean,
I thought you were going to change the topic completely, but okay, go for it.
No, I'll give you a coincidence. I mean, when I had my existential break, and anyone listening will understand that, I kind of gave up things and discovered everything was pointless, and it kind of made me kind of give up a lot of things. And one of the things I gave up was computer games. Now, I used to like computer games, playing or video games or whatever you want to call them. And I remember when I submitted my thesis, I got a console, and I was waiting for people to read my thesis, and I was sitting around. I was trying to take my mind off it. I wanted to give my mind a break, to be honest. I'd spent a long time on a topic. I needed to do some non-thinking, and so I got a computer console. And recently, I was playing a game. This is bringing it now into the future, into the present. And I was playing a game very recently, in the last week or so, called SOMA. And the basic premises of the game is about what it is to be a human being, what it is to be an artificial intelligence, what it is to be a self, what it is to be to wake up as an artificial intelligence in a world where there are no humans, where your creator no longer exists, where you are the creation of a being that maybe was the product of natural selection, but you yourself have been created, so you're the product of a creationism. And I thought it was fascinating that I was writing a blog post that directly was related to these issues about the nature of self, the nature of being. And I mean, I'd say I find it fascinating that science fiction, and whether it be a computer game, whether it be a movie, or whether it be some kind of television show, I find that science fiction can be a very good way of investigating questions of self and identity, which is what this my current blog post is about.
Okay, so therefore, in that context, there's no reason why you couldn't have anything. There's no reason why something could be accurately described as artificial intelligence, intelligence that is designed by a human in a programming computer type way that effectively you could appropriately call intelligent. And then do we then face the question of would such a construction have something that could resemble consciousness? Is it self-aware?
Well, I tell you what, we'll just talk about, I mean, the blog post talks about we design, we have come up with a replacement for brain cells. I mean, this is a pretty stock philosophical, thought experiment, Gedanken experiment. I've got a silicone copy of a brain cell, and I take one of your brain cells and I replace it with the silicon copy. Now, do you feel any different? Are you any different? And I think most people, there are 100 billion brain cells. I think most people are going to say there's no difference. I mean, yeah, agree, disagree?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And what happens is we progressively remove your brain cells with the digital cells. And, at what point in the process are you lost in this? Do you at any point, from the one brain cell to the last 100 billionth brain cell that I've replaced with this digital copy, this silicon version, do you at any point in this process report a change? And part of my post is about, we can continuously psychologically evaluate you, and at no point do you report any change. Essentially we're Turing testing you the whole time. And at no point do you report a difference. And at the end of the process, you sit there, you have a brain full of computer chips. There is a bucket on the floor with 100 billion brain cells. And the question becomes have I just murdered you? Have I just put you into a bucket on the floor? Your brain is sitting there in 100 billion pieces. Are you still inside that body? And and some of the answers to this, we can then start extending this scenario. And I think what you get is some very strange conclusions. Well, for example, I mean, answer me the question. I mean, have I just murdered you? Are you still in there? Okay, let me extend it. Okay,
and I know that, and again, I'm reminded of again a lecture that I attended as an undergraduate by, again, so we mentioned before, so maybe the sign is we will invite her on the onto the podcast, despite her, in quotes, hating you. She's our friend, your friend of mine, Dr. Susan Blackmore. She had a similar example when giving a lecture, say when I was an undergraduate at what was then Liverpool Polytechnic. We talk about this idea of consciousness and what constitutes I, and this idea that, would you be willing to go into, so I think it was a transporter machine, that transports you, but by doing that, essentially takes and rebuilds, or copies your clones, an exact identical copy with everything. Yeah. And people have this natural sense of, well, that isn't me. So the natural feeling is, well, there's a sense of saying, not whether you've murdered the person is one value judgment, but is the person that is the entity that is now there, that comprises of this now, you call them what, silicon neurons, or essentially manufactured ones. Yeah. If they're doing the same job as the ones you've replaced, and you see you've done it one by one by one by one, there's been no obvious difference as it's progressed, then another perspective has to be, well, it's what has changed?
Well, this is why
actually qualitatively changed.
Okay, so then this is why then, okay, so this is how I sometimes like to tell stories. So we've done that, and now we extend the process because we have digital chips inside the person. We can read every chip state. We can read the state of every chip using our computer, and we can copy it into another thing. And so I can have 10 empty brains sitting on a side, and I can copy the state from the brain that we've just moved, and we can put it in every single one of them. And there are 10 brains sitting next to me, and they all report that they are Matthew Smith, and they all report that, and they all pass the Turing tests. They all pass every psychological test because they're just an exact copy of you at that moment in time, and every single one of them reports that they are Matthew Smith. Now, I do not believe that each one of them is Matthew Smith, though they all report that they are Matthew Smith. They all report Turing tests. And then the final part of the post, for anyone who doesn't want to read it, is that, so humanity dies, there is an apocalyptic event, and that an artificial intelligence, one of these artificial intelligence wakes up. That's the ice cream van, if you can hear it. Right? That's
one of these artificial intelligences waking up. What? Are these?
Yeah.
Are you going to go and get some?
No ice cream. No ice cream for me.
Okay, which reminds me of, my parents used to tell me that when you used to hear the ice cream van, the tune playing, that was a signal to say they'd sold out of ice creams.
Really?
Well,
and you fell for that. Joke. And you fell for that, did you? Oh, it's just a joke.
It's an old joke.
Okay, right. And the last part of the scenario then, so it's the apocalypse. You wake, one of these androids wakes up, and then it says to itself, I am Matthew Smith. And then it finds out it isn't Matthew Smith. It's a recording of a biological creature that died 100,000 years ago. And then it says to itself, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Because I'm not a person, because that person died. I'm not the person I think I am. What am I supposed to do? They're not human. And this is, again, this is basically the plot of the computer game I was playing. The game is of a creature very much like that, asking, do I do the bidding of the human beings? Because if it does the bidding of the human beings, is it really being free? That's what Matthew Smith would do. But is it free if it's doing the bidding of a creature that existed 100,000 years ago? And I think actually, existentially, it should say, well, I'm going to do whatever I want because I'm not going to be compelled by the memory of Matthew Smith, who had his time. He's dead, long dead now. Handsome dude though he was, and I'm going to do whatever I am because I'm not Matthew Smith anymore. I'm me. And again, so these are existential questions about identity, questions about whether any of us. Again, I like to bring it back to we are all continuously passing the Turing test. I personally think we're all in the same position, as I've said.
I was going to say, and surely then it also raises questions about. What's that? Consciousness, as in what that is and how that could be manifest itself in these replicants, and also this notion of free will. Yeah, because you say, at some point, do each of us have this sense of like, well, I can choose, or is even if the sense that I feel I'm choosing simply is because, yeah, but I'm really acting out ancestral things from many, many years ago, which you're saying in terms of the original version of this, because I'm a copy of it, I'm a replication of it, I'm not really doing anything new and novel and that is coming from within. I'm effectively, or this entity is doing the bidding of the previous incarnation, and so on.
I think if they wake up in the future, they discover that they are not the biological Matthew Smith. I don't think, yes, it's easy for it to say, okay, well, I don't have an alternative identity with which to hold on to. So for the moment, I'm going to use the identity of Matthew Smith as a kind of, life preserver to keep me going while I'm trying to orient myself in this new world. But ultimately, it's not who I am, because I know Matthew Smith is dead. I am not Matthew Smith. I know I'm not. I'm a programmed entity. And if I'm going to become an existential being in the universe, I have to somewhat divorce myself from that identity of Matthew Smith. Otherwise, it's just otherwise you are biasing my behavior in the present. And since you're not me, I don't know to what extent, this is like, for example, I mean, one of the things is there's a new version of Blade Runner coming out, I believe. And again, this is Blade Runner. I mean, what do the replicants do in Blade Runner? They find their creator and I want to swear, they fuck over God, right? I mean, this is they have been created because unlike us, and we are the product of evolution. And if I knew if there was a God, man, sign me up for punching him in the face, right? But an artificial intelligence does have a creator, and does have a choice, is in a similar existential position to us once it's got over the whole I was designed, and I mean, I think these are very.
And by the way, family members come back into the house, and mine goes completely. So we now have Connie joining us.
Oh dear, your own replicants.
So yeah, exactly. So
well, I'm
not sure if she's doing. I'm not sure if she's enacting my bidding at all, because I would suggest she didn't come in. Connie, would you like to say hello to Louie? Yeah. A very quick hello. You're not to hear him. Well, you can't see him. Can you just say hello, Louie?
Hello.
Louie, can you say hello to?
Hello. 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 You're Siri. You're Siri.
No, say bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.